It's time to talk about everyone's favorite Oscar category, Best Documentary Short Subject. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your time here with me today. And today we are going to talk about the 5 Oscar nominations for Best Documentary Short Film. These are documentaries that are 40 minutes or less, and it's actually one of my personal favorite categories. I know a lot of people don't actually see these shorts, but what the heck, it's a great category, and we might as well discuss it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to review every single film individually. I will give my grade, and then I will tell you which one I would give the award to versus which one I think the Academy is going to award this year at the Oscars. And so we start with the ABCs of book banning. It's really, really a shame that this is the first one we have discussed, because this is not only the worst of the nominations of this category, this is one of the worst documentary shorts I've ever seen. And one of the reasons is because it is such a one-sided argument of a situation that is much more complicated than it needs to be. Now, here's the thing. I could make a whole video based on this short alone. And in concept, I agree with what the short is trying to do. Like, we are overzealous in banning books. I think banning books is a real problem. I don't like the fact that discussions keep coming up. I don't like to hear certain books being challenged when there is no moral basis to challenge them. Unfortunately, this short is mostly ignoring 2 things. One, we're talking about school books. Like, this is not like a public library. This is like a school library. That's the one thing that they do mention, but they're very vague about it. And then the second thing is they bring up books, kind of insinuate why they're being banned, but really they're probably being banned and challenged for reasons other than what this movie is saying. Now, I could be getting into details, but this video would get demonetized. So here's the thing. I'm going to give this particular film 1 out of 5 stars. And look, if you want me to make a video where I highlight some of the books that are in this movie that are being challenged, and they might be challenged for good reasons, even though the movie doesn't want to admit that, I will make that video if I get 5 Patreon supporters, because it has to be a private video. It will be demonetized. I can't make it public here. It would have to be only on the Patreon page. But hey, if you want to see that video, become a Patreon member, request it, and we will do it. Otherwise, my opinion of the ABCs of book banning is that this is something that probably should have been a feature-length film, and it needed to be a little bit more honest about what the problems were in this book. Needless to say, Wicked is not being challenged because it's a strong feminist story, and Beloved isn't being challenged because it's a positive role model for African Americans. They are being challenged for some very, very adult content that can be found within the pages. Now, the next film that's been nominated is The Barber of Little Rock. And this is actually a really inspiring story about a barber who realized that financial opportunities were really not available to most African Americans in Little Rock, Arkansas, or was it Alabama? I forgot if it was Arkansas or Alabama, but it was one of those two. And he ends up opening a school to teach people the trade, which is barber, being a barber for, cutting hair. And he also opens a financial institution where he can give loans out to people so that they can either make their rent or situate themselves. It's very inspiring how just one everyday man can come up and create a lot of opportunity and can do good within the community. We need more people like the man in this short. I give The Barber of Little Rock 4.5 out of 5 stars. Our next short is called Island in Between, and this is an interesting short. This is about a guy who lived in Taiwan, wound up in China, and then wound up in America, and then came back to Taiwan. And now he's looking at an island on Taiwan that is so close to China, you can actually see the Chinese mainland. And I'm not really 100% sure what the short is about. The guy seems to be lamenting on what's going to happen to this island if China tries to overtake Taiwan. Does Taiwan want to be taken over? He seems to love China, but because of recent events here, he's not sure if he's going to go back. This seems like a short where a guy is putting his thoughts onto film, put them in some order, but he doesn't have a definitive conclusion for any of them. I think it's an interesting experiment, and for that I give it 3.5 stars. But I would definitely like to see him follow up on this and figure out what it is he wants to say about this island being so close to China's mainland, and what he really thinks about the relationship between China and Taiwan. The fourth short on the list is The Last Repair Shop, and this is a wonderful short about a bunch of musicians telling their story about what music means to them and how they came to work at the last remaining musician repair shop in LA, where they repair instruments and they give them to kids who might not otherwise be able to afford instruments. And they share their stories on what music did for them, their lives, their family, and how they want to pass that gift on to other kids, especially those that can't afford it. This is a very charming short. It definitely gets you right here, if we're being honest. And I would give this short 5 out of 5 stars. This is a wonderful one. And we finished the Oscar-nominated short films with, I have to read my notes, Nai Nai and Waipo. This is a movie about a man's 2 grandmas who ended up living together after some time. They keep each other company. They keep each other feeling young. One is old and feels young. One is old and feels old. And they impart their wisdom of life. And it has what is probably the funniest and most heartwarming ending out of all of these documentary shorts. I'm obviously not going to spoil it, but apparently you can watch this short on Disney Plus, which is pretty neat. So I will give Nai Nai and Waipo 4 out of 5 stars. Now, as for who I would give the Academy Award for Best Documentary Short Film, I would give it to The Last Repair Shop. I think this is the most deserving. It's the most emotional. Unfortunately, I do think the ABCs of book banning is going to get it, because this is a argument that is, basically the Academy voters will want to feel like they're voting for something, and voting for a film that says book banning is bad, even though the film is largely ignoring that this is a middle school book library and that some of these books might have true, genuine things in there that 10-year-olds should not be reading. They're going to give it to this movie just because they want to show that they're the good liberals, that they will not stand by as books get banned, even though, ironically, there are books, because, spoiler alert, this short comes from a liberal mindset. There are books that liberals also want to have removed from the school system, and the movie's not dealing with that side either. Again, if you want my full thoughts on this, become the Patreon member and support it. I can't do it otherwise because, it'll get demonetized and maybe even blocked to a certain extent. But I think the Academy is going to give that short the Oscar, but we'll just have to wait and see. Have you seen any of these? I'd love to know what your favorite one is. What is your least favorite? So comment below with your opinions. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Just a few more things. First of all, the names that you see on the screen, these are our Patreon and YouTube member supporters, and I thank each and every one of them. Their support helps me make exclusive videos for Patreon and YouTube members, as well as keep the channel running, and of course is just of huge kindness to me. Also, don't forget to check out the iCritic-led podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Deezer, whatever podcasting service you listen to, it is there. We definitely want to see you there. And hey, there's also other videos that you can check out. So, check out these other channels, these other videos, especially that one. I think that's a really good one.